Good afternoon, everybody. This is Robin Ayub from the Localization Fireside Chat, and welcome. Welcome to another episode. Today, I am recording episode 249, and if I don't get the count correctly, don't hate me for that. I'll display the accurate episode counter online when I post-edit these episodes. So I want to welcome you to another conversation that we're hosting today. And my guest and I today, we're going to debate it. We're going to talk, not debate. We're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation around the idea of a lot of times in our industry, we are talking about what AI can do, the capabilities, the benchmarks, and we do a lot of demos, and everybody's trying to do something a little different, add a feature here, a feature there, try to uptick the other person. What we talk about is far less why in my opinion, it's most quietly failing. What we don't talk about that option quite often, and it's quietly failing in real organizations. So my guest today holds a US patent for an algorithm that quantifies soft skills and personality patterns to improve career direction. And you've heard me host a couple of discussions on this one, on this topic, on this channel. So this is not new for us, but the algorithm around that's new. A lot of HR leaders, they map it out, they put it into a soft skill context. That's fine. But I want to see the science behind it. I want to see how the algorithm is going to impact it. And my guest and I will be doing this today. We'll be talking about this one today. So my guest today, he built the technology not because anything else other than he watched enough people and organizations make the wrong calls when they couldn't measure what actually matters. This is very important, guys, right? So if you can't measure it, how do you manage it? You have to measure it in order for you to manage it. He moved through his history, and we'll get to know him a little bit in more detail. He moved from mining and engineering to McKinsey to the American Heart Association, and now leads AI product development at Catenate. And I think that path is the whole point that I am bringing my guest with me today, Samir Ranjan. Samir, welcome to the Localization Fireside Chat. And I've been looking forward to this one because your trajectory from mining, engineering in India, silver medal, then business analytics at UT Dallas, then McKinsey, then building AI tools for workforce decision making. That's not straight line, to be honest with you. That's called zigzagging, which has a ton of benefit. And I've done a lot of zigzagging in my career. You got to do that. If somebody's got a straight line career, consider zigzagging. You'll end up with a lot more experience than straight line careers. And if you want me to do a podcast on zigzagging versus straight line, happy to do that too. And so for a lot of people who take the long road usually have better instinct about what breaks. And this is where you and I come from. You hold a patent for quantifying soft skills. You've consulted some of the most data-rich organizations in the world. And now at Catenate, you're building products that try to close the gap between what AI promises and what people actually need from it. What I'm personally most curious about this today is you've been inside of organization that have very resource in the world, like they've got a lot of resources in the world, but you're still skeptical about AI hype. I want to understand exactly where the skepticism comes from. So first thing is I want to welcome you to the conversation. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate the time you are going to spend with me today recording this episode. This is an exciting one. We talk a lot about people, but we talk more about technology, to be honest with you. There's a lot of excitements. Somebody put it to me on one of the podcasts. AI today is like, somebody doing something adrenaline, strike, whatever you're in the mood for to get you that adrenaline rush. I think when you hear AI nowadays, people gets excited, right? But are we not putting our excitement in the wrong place? I think we are, because a human it has a cost on a human, and we need to understand what that is. So first, welcome to the conversation. Let's get into it.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm very excited to talk about AI application and the zigzagging because I love it.
So as we get started on this conversation, Samir, everybody gets the first question first. So let's get this out of the way. First question, if you don't mind, everybody's got a story. Tell us your story.
Wow, my story. So it all started with me finding a stream where I'll have adventure every day. And that's how I ended up doing mining engineering. I had an undergrad there. I aced the college and I got a silver medal. I was second ranked in the college for the program. And then uh, life was looking very peaceful, very good. I ended up in a mines and I got the adventure of life because I was an underground mining engineer. So I used to get to 1,000 feet below the ground, and it's a whole different world, which I don't think many people know. Only handful of the people can experience it ever in their life. I was working with explosive. I was working with how to basically tear down the earth and get the mineral out, and it was fascinating to say. Uh, and at the same time, I was working with at least 600 to 700 people in a shift, which is inside the mines. And I was managing most of them. 21-year-old managing people who were almost double my age, double my experience because I was zero experience, but they had like 20, 30 years of experience. They knew everything, and I knew nothing because I came right after academia where I had zero experience of how real world works. I know everything that books have taught me, and I understood books didn't prepare me for the real world. It's prepared me for something which nobody's using anymore. And that's where I think I understood a concept that human relationships, human communication, and how do you negotiate your ideas becomes the base philosophy of any work organization around the world. And when you are in a situation which is very high pressure situation, not just in terms of working, but in terms of atmosphere around you, you have to think very differently, very creatively. And how do you talk to someone? uh, and then I think in that journey I figured out that if I add some kind of data layer, that I'm able to understand how people are talking, where when they are going to a shift, when they're coming out of the shift, how much they're producing, what kind of tools, technology, process that they're using, I should be able to figure out what is wrong with not having 100% efficacy. And I think that's where the first twist of us zigzagging started, where I thought, let me go and understand data much more. I understand mining, but let's understand data. And when I started understanding data, reading more about it, I thought I need to do upskill myself and do a master's in it so that I can be a master of data. When I became a master of data, I understood that now I can take the process and the philosophies that I learned in mining and the data and put it into few industry. And the second zigzagging started with healthcare, jumped on to working for uh, uh, technology consulting. Then I thought, okay, every single layer around the world works on people rather than process or technology. If you figure out people, you can figure out anything and everything. And since then, I think I was able to hop onto a lot of different things, which basically created a base for me to understand people more, people better, understand relationships better with humans. So that's what my story is.
And for the audience, Samir also taught, so he's got a teaching background, and that pedagogical instinct, I think, likely shaped how he thinks about AI utilization when it comes to organization adopting AI and how they view the human technology interaction. Would you mind talking a little bit about this angle, if you don't mind, Samir?
Right. So, teaching has always been my passion. I think I always created a hierarchy of respect that I want to give to people. And I later understood it was very wrong, but I had the hierarchy that first and foremost respect, I should give it to my teachers who have actually taught me something. Then it should be my parents. And my parents didn't like that hierarchy because I put teachers up top. But I think when you become a teacher, your whole job is to make sure the people that you're teaching or the cohort that you're teaching, that has to be much more successful than you are. And when you go into that, teaching is a science for me. It's not an art subject, it's a science subject because you should be able to clearly break down a sentence into a knowledge. And that actually helped me understand the hype and hype, what is not hype, where the adoption work, where it doesn't work. Since we are talking about AI hype is just because nobody is trying to understand what AI is can be used for. Everybody is trying to use AI, right? Everybody thinks AI is the another search engine, which is a little better search engine than Google. It was never meant to be a search engine. It was always meant to be an augmentation. So I think that's where I think the teaching, because I taught many years and I still teach at few of the universities where I go and take the guest lectures or take the semester subjects where I teach people, students. I think uh, that skill I'm trying to translate into how the adoption work, how the technology integration works, so that I can explain people, I can make them see through the things, make them understand the base philosophies, so that they can actually go and apply it in their organization.
You know, we do a lot of research on our guests here. I do a lot of research on my guests, so I probably be asking questions during this dialogue that probably wouldn't expect from a podcaster to ask. It's one of the things is I'm always amazed with, and I worked in the data field for many years. My background is technology. If you and I first time talking, but the audience have heard me talk about this before. And one of my jobs, I worked at an insurance company and I worked a lot with lots of data in that space. So, you know, one of the things is like I feel like in your life, in your career, in your parallels, I guess, you know, there's something called data mining, and you worked in mining and engineering as a fundamentally about, you know, trying to extract value out of systems, and they don't give it up easy. You know, like when you try to get like rare earth material 2,000 feet below the surface, you're not going to be able like here I am, pick me up. No, you're going to actually work hard to try to find it, you refine it, try to get into it, kind of thing. Was there the same difficulties for you in the data side, or did it prepare you?
Actually, very interestingly, mining actually prepared me for the data mining, because uh, everybody thinks that they have all the data, but they don't have the data which can actually produce the value, right? Which is like earth, right? Everywhere there is soil, right? But not every soil you can extract gold out of it. You have to reach to a certain place where you can extract gold or diamond or coal or zinc or any of the material. And I I can draw parallels from the mining world to the data mining, which is, if you want to do a mining of, let's say, zinc as a metal, you have to understand where zinc lies. Same goes for the data also. If you want to solve a problem around let's say technology adaptation, you have to go and figure out where that data lies, where it can give you some kind of indication. You have to do the survey. So and to be very honest with you, I don't see education institute drawing parallels with different studies. Right? Everybody thinks that one stream is a one stream, but I always think like if you can draw parallels from different streams, you'll always be better off. So to answer your question, it actually prepared me, because it made me a better consultant, because I saw from a very different lens. I didn't had a baggage of IT with me. I had a baggage of mining, which actually helped me out to understand IT better.
Now let's talk a little bit about Catenate. What does it do?
Catenate is a company which came from a word that we wanted, concatenate, which means chain reaction.
Concatenate. Yeah, I remember that word because when I was a programmer, I used to use concatenate quite a bit.
Correct. We took that word because we believed in a philosophy that our life is a chain reaction, which is where you got educated defines who you meet as a person, where you will work. Where you will work will define who will you meet. Who will you meet will define who will you marry. Who will you marry will define how do you lead your life. And how do you lead your life defines how you manage your finances. So it's a chain reaction. And we thought if we create a base product which solves where do you get educated, how do you get educated, we'll be able to predict where your careers will be. We'll be able to predict whom you will meet. We'll be able to predict how your finances will be managed. So that's where the whole Catenate idea came. Catenate is again, it's an AI led company. We created our own models by which we wanted to assess people, assess their soft skill, assess their personality, and If I add the job skill that they have, it basically becomes a human. Only thing that I don't have is emotion, because emotion is very hard to numerically calculate. So we thought, let's create a digital twin of a person on which we can do a lot of experimentation, which is, if this person goes to study XYZ thing, where will they end up? If they go on a certain job, whether they will like it, they will hate it, because every personality has a tendency to like or hate a job. That's what Catenate does. It creates algorithm. It created an algorithm, created the flagship product named Maya, which is being used by companies to understand their employees or the people they hire, or people they have, where they want to promote, how they see the leadership pipeline, how they see which gap area they want to fulfill and upskill. Robin, again, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, guys, I'm on mute again. Can you believe it? 250 episodes, and I'm still battling with the mute button. I can't believe this. There you go. I guess it happens. That's what happens when you do online recording. So, just for the audience, I was just saying, for the audience, Samir, if you don't mind, for those who are still a little vague. So, if I'm, let's say, I'm going to clear it out for you. So, if I'm workforce manager or educator, what problem am I bringing to you, and what does your product hand back to me?
Right. So the biggest problem that people usually come to us is they don't know what the gaps are in terms of skills of their employees. They
Yep.
all have bought all the L&D tools. They might have different Coursera's and Udemy's and EDX and LinkedIn Learnings of the world, but they don't know what their employees want actually, because it has millions of courses. Now, nobody can potentially go and do millions of courses, because it would be, uh, it won't do any good to them. So they come to us so that they can do the skill assessment, figure out these are the gaps that a person has, and we want to promote them to a certain role, or we want to do them certain jobs. What are the skill gaps that they have, is they can go and learn, and what kind of courses they should do to do that, to upskill themselves. So that's what they do. That's one of the problem areas that we solve. Second problem area as a workforce manager is, who all in my company are leadership material? Do they have the soft skill? Do they have the personality to become a leader? So that's the second area that we solve. Few other areas that we work on with additional data that we get from the company is solving out the productivity issues. Who is actually working out, whether the team is working in tandem or not. Most often people don't like to work in team because they think that their ego clashes are there with manager, their personality doesn't match with the other coworker. So we solve these issues in general.
Now, there are a few examples out there that I call them the bit of a legacy models, and I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't looked into them for a while, so they could have improved over time. I don't know, but I've dealt with a few of them in my past career. One of them is Myers Briggs, the other one is PI Worldwide Index, the PI Index. And I was wondering, is there any connection to this? Is there any relation? Is there similarity?
Uh, there is not much similarity. The concept of what they do and what we do is a little different, but both are used for the same purpose, right? So our purpose, our base philosophy is around behavioral economics, which is, you go to a job because you want to earn the money. That money can be zero if you work for a non-profit, a government. It can be billions of dollars if you work for a rich corporate. But it is motivated to behavioral economics. Whereas the other tools and other assessment systems are more or less, anybody and everybody in the world can come and assess their personality. Ours is more or less aligned to the career and job and education. So we bucket ourselves so that we solve a certain problem. Uh, Others are, it's available for anything and everything.
So, no, this is good explanation. I really appreciate that because a lot of our audience are going to think, oh, listen, this is similar to, I'm trying to clarify it for everybody who's listening to this. So, the concept is different here. What we're trying to do is take the soft skills and put them into a measurable algorithms, to put them into measurable data that we can rely on it. Am I correct, Samir?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. So what user has to do is they have to do an assessment, 27 question. Questions are all about real life, which is, uh, I went to a casino and I saw an old friend, uh, whom I have not had a word in the last 10 years. What will I do? Will I go say hello? Will I ignore? Will I go say hello and talk to them for 30 minutes? Will I go say hello and then move on with my job. So all of those are the real thing which we all do and happen in our life, right? It doesn't. So what we do is we don't box the answer. Where if you'll see at the assessment, other assessment, it would be either strongly agree, strongly disagree. We don't do that. We give the situational context and we ask user to rank it, which is you will do first, second, third, and fourth, which is, and depending on the day and depending on the time that they're giving the assessment, it tries to map out their personality and soft skill. And this is a continual assessment, which is we prescribe every company to give it to their employees every 3 months, so that over a period of time you are able to map out how their personality is changing, looking. One thing, one notion that most of the people have is we'll do the assessment once and we are good. Actually, it's not true, because our personality changes with the life events. And that's where we have created the algorithm where if, let's say, you and me give that assessment, we'll all have a score for our soft skill. We quantify 84 soft skills. So on 84 different soft skills, I can get the data, and I can make it consistent across any organization so that they can judge their people on, they can compare their people on, they can understand what kind of soft skill are contradictory to each other. Like nobody can be 100 on everything. If they are good at something, they will be bad at something. So they can look at that
Yeah.
and make a decision.
Like for example, when we're talking about soft skills, for me, for instance, a lot of people they say they're detail oriented. I am not, but if somebody says to me, "Can you do detail?" Of course, I can do details. Everybody can get into something like this and say, "Okay, I can do it." But it is your nature. Is it? You would wake up in the morning and say, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see a bunch of details so I can deal with." The answer, is particularly no, in this case, most likely no, because that's not your comfort zone. But your comfort zone perhaps to stay high level, to think strategically, etc. So I think that's what Samir's talking about here. Those soft skills now we have the capability to measure. For instance, multitasking. That's another one too. If you're a project manager in our industry, in the localization industry, you guys know all about multitasking. You're doing 1,000 things at the same time. Exaggeration for illustration, but the point is you're multitasking. It's part of your job. And if you can't do multitasking and you are a project manager, let me tell you this, most likely you are uncomfortable. That's not what you like to do. That's not your happy place. this is this is what we're trying to diagnose here. Where do your soft skill fit, and then map it out to what you're going to be doing in the future. Did I get it right?
You got it right. You got it exactly right. We saw a problem which was most of the people in, let's say, starting of their 30s to almost at 50, they have a midlife crisis. Right? Midlife crisis is mostly due to the workplaces, which is they're not happy with the job. They will switch multiple jobs, but still they are not happy because they have not figured out what is triggering them. And more or less, it is exactly what you said. You are at a job which requires multitasking. You do it because it gives you money, but that's not your natural instinct, which makes you feel very much frustrated when the life gives you additional pressure. So you are exactly right in paraphrasing it.
Absolutely. Now, you hold a US patent 12198-213B2 for an algorithm that quantifies soft skills. This is real, guys, okay? So this is not hypothetical. This is an algorithm that quantifies soft skills, personality patterns, and improve career direction. That's an extraordinary thing, to be honest with you. I never thought we'll get to a point where we can measure these things. We can sort of estimate it, and I've stated a few other models that will estimate these soft skills, but to point it to a data pattern of sort where you can actually go back and rely on that data. And this is what I think Samir has built this thing is I want to measure it. I want to can it into a data. I want to save it into a data form that I can do decisions based on this data later. Now, what are the core insights? How do you actually turn like something fuzzy, for instance, like a soft skill, into something a machine can measure reliably enough to hang a career decision on? Like, how do people trust?
Right. So that's a great question, right? Trust comes from two things. One, independent studies and the clinical research, which somebody can come and validate it. But I think there is third angle also when you go to the masses and trust, which is does a large cohort of people can come and say yes, this is the exact reflection of who I am or what I can be. And we were successful. Like we have had the studies, multiple studies at different places, different geographies around the world where we got at least 92% of the people coming and saying that yes, this is a true reflection of who I am, and at different age groups. So people were actually happy with the result, but we had a lot of different clinical trials where uh, we asked bunch of scientists to come and check when they do a psychological assessment, whatever tool that they want to use in this tool, and map it how close they are. And to our satisfaction, we were pretty close to actual diagnosis of the different psychologists in terms of, again, job and career, right? uh, the algorithm that we designed was the when I was writing the maths of it, I always thought that let me create something which will work on the standard deviations. Which standard deviation is something that is, in statistics, it's one of the most underlooked aspect of any data. Standard deviation actually tells me what is the range in which I am always deviating. And I took that as a core philosophy and wrote the whole algorithm where when somebody is doing assessment like these, the answers that they are getting, how close and far they are deviating from it. Because it is first question I'll answer seriously, 27th I won't, right? Because by that time I'm bored. So I just wanted to see the deviation and I was able to create an actual algorithm which always gives a personality score or metrics which is very close to what reality is. And the second part of the equation was machines. Machines don't understand communication, but machine understands 7.5, machine understands 6.5, and machine understands a scale. Now, again, the concept of scale is 10 is good, 1 is bad. That's not always right. For a context, 2 can be good and 8 can be bad also. So I created then concept and algorithm around scale. With your organization, is 2 is good or 8 is good. So this algorithm basically morphs into a system for every organization. And then it starts at the organization level, it starts baselining people so that they can get the data and they can actually trust the logic.
Samir, who is how? What does an assessment look like? Is that like an online thing that they take, or
Yeah, it's an online thing and they can take at any time, place, day. They are at the toilet seats, and if they want to take it, they can take it, because I wanted to create a system which is bias free and tiredness free. If I'll ask someone, you are doing an assessment, sit in an office and do the assessment, they are already under pressure that they are being judged. So this is an assessment, online assessment they can take anytime in a daytime, anytime in a day, or over a span of a month, whatever pleases them.
so? What stage is the company's at right now? Are you in a startup mode? Are you in a development mode, or are you in commercialization mode?
We are in commercialization, so we have paid customers, we have active clients who are actually using it on the ground to see the results.
And who is your ideal customer profile? We call it ICP here. Who would be your ideal customer?
The ideal customer will be any organization having 200 and more people. Uh, we have worked with a lot of universities because they use this tool to figure out what are jobs are there in the market, where their students stand, and what are the gaps. So they were one of the ideal markets, and they are one of the ideal market. But then there are clients and customers who basically use this to understand their employee. If let's say they have a system by which they want to reduce the attrition rate. A lot of hospitals are using it to understand that why their nurses are leaving the job, and they're able to figure out, okay, this might not be a payment problem, this might be more of a skill problem, because they might not be put the proper invoice number in or the ICD code in, so that the hospital get money. So our ICP is any organization 200 and more looking to either figure out why the people are leaving them, figure out where their process is not getting optimized by the people, and third, figuring out how they can hire more people who actually understands what company looks for in terms of a long-term employee.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your core thesis, which is the gap between what AI can do and what organization maturities are, or what state they are in. On the top level, like at the front end, when I saw that, I thought to myself, well, the AI capability is improving every day. It's a self-learning, self-developing kind of a technology. We're not waiting 1 year to get a new release of a software now. It's continuously being updated based on the data that we're feeding it, based on the experiences that we're giving it. First, if you don't mind addressing that, and then I'll get into. I got several questions in that topic, but can you address that one for me?
Sure. So the huge issue right now, which I see is, as I stated, people don't understand capabilities of AI fully, right? It's usually a boardroom conversation which is getting pushed down. That go
Yeah,
out of
CEO wants everybody to use AI. Okay, we'll go use AI for what? I don't know.
yeah,
I'm
and
calling my
then
wife on CI on AI, so I have no idea.
yeah, no idea. And then people figured out the easiest way to use AI will be we will generate documents, right? People started generating documents, and they generated it in so much quantity. Now whatever could have been done in a two-line of message, it becomes four paragraphs that you have to go and read everything, right? So the AI adoption, because it helps you write an email, okay, good job, but does it help in getting more revenue for the company? The answer is no, right? Does it help you save a repeatable process that you can make, which saves a lot of time? The answer is no for most of the enterprises. And now this is where my hypothesis comes, like, which is AI is changing every day. There are people who are using it for their benefit also. And then there are people who are getting bombarded with newer tools where they are in the experimenting phase. And I call it the 3 week phase, where 3 week you will do everything with that machine and you will think that this is the best thing that ever happened because you will see it in a demo, and you won't be able to replicate the demo because you didn't create any repeatable process. So this is the huge gap that is happening, and it is all because with the newer information that is coming in, people are not able to hold off for why they started, where they wanted to go. Newer information, the direction change. Newer information, direction change. So again, I'll piggyback on the thought. Zigzagging always doesn't work. It can work in a career, but not on a process which you have not defined it fully, or you don't know where you want to go. So you need to have a goal and then work to with the technology to the goal. So that's where augmentation of AI is necessary rather than application of AI.
So, in your opinion, let's answer this. Let's ask this question directly, I guess, as much as possible. What does a mature organization actually look like in practice when it comes to AI adoption? In your opinion?
Right. It looks like somebody who has actually figured out that if I'm going to spend $1 million on an AI tool, I can actually make $10 million out of it without reducing any workforce. I was able to get much more clients. I was able to do much more than what I was doing rather than just thinking that it cut short 30% of the time. But was I able to fill 30% of the extra time that I got with something? Or I just invested $1 million in an AI tool which didn't resulted in anything. It just become a cost line item. So mature organization always find that there has been a significant change in ROI that could have not been possible with the help of AI without reducing any workforce.
And for everybody out there, you've heard me talk about this before. There are many studies to point to the fact that there are billions of dollars being spent on AI for little return from the effort or the investment that we put out there. McKinsey put out a couple of reports on the topic, and to be honest with you, from a bottom line perspective, when you look at the amount of money spent globally on AI versus the return that we are getting from AI now, corporately, I'm talking about, not individually. Individually, people are happy because they can build whatever they want now. You get the democratization of technology into the hands of people. But from a corporation's perspective, who's stuck in legacy processes, you can't take a company that's been in petroleum, example, for instance, for the past 50 years, and you say, okay, everybody needs to get on AI now. Meanwhile, they still have paper trail and forms and typewriters in some corner office somewhere. How do you move that along? How do you get it from that to the next century, if you want to put it this way? So yes, there are many examples out there of money spent on AI in the hope. In fact, let me take it a step further. if you were to look at any stock trading company or any stock traded company like banks, financial institution, that kind of thing, there is a direct tie between a dollar saved on the financials to a stock price improvement. And in post COVID, or during COVID, actually, they used the remote working and reduction of cost internally to improve that financial statement and look good. We all saw the stock went up crazy because of the cost they were saving, right? So half the real estate was empty. Nobody was going to the office. They saved money on real estate, IT support services. Well, actually, from physical to remote now, but it's much less. And now we are in a situation where we're looking for that next hockey stick improvement in our financials, and the only thing that we've got right now, it's the what I call this the ace in for us in the deck right now is AI. And
Right.
you hear CEOs, I talk to them all the time. We want to deploy AI. Okay, well, the manager comes in and they say, well, we want to do some AI application. Well, for what? Well, I don't know. What do you want the application to do? No idea. I just want to get involved, and I want to show that I'm doing some AI work because I want to keep my job. Um, it's I'm painting a ridiculous picture because it's not far from the truth. I'm exaggerating for effect, but it's not far from the truth.
Right. Actually, I'll say you're not exaggerating at all because that is the truth, right? Most of the people. Okay, let's again break down this whole problem, right? It starts with the information, right? Where are you getting the information from? Tabloids, you're reading the newspaper, you're reading Twitter post, and everywhere it is saying that AI can do. AI is a magical wand which will do everything and good thing for you, and you think, okay, it will do something good. Then you look at Instagram reels, right? That's where the new next set of information comes, right? Where you are seeing that a kid sitting in some boondock area created a software which can do magic, and it looks like, yes, it actually did the magic. And then you go to the boardroom meeting and you say, I saw magic happen, now make it happen, because I hired the smartest brain, I paid them gazillions of dollars, and I want you to now make it happen. The people who basically got this order, they also saw the same news, they also saw the same reel, but they don't know how to do that. And then they push it down to the bottom. Now the people who are actually on the ground, they have never been trained to do the job in a different manner, because they have been doing it the same process since last 20 years, 30 years. The magic cannot happen. Now, the another side of the issue is this technology is so new that if you were not involved with it with the past 10 years, past 12 years, you won't be able to do anything, because you cannot prompt out everything, and prompt doesn't work in the real world. It's just a trick that you do it for yourself. That is why I think there is one more motion which has started, which most of the AI, frontier AI companies have started to deploy something that they call front deployed engineers, which is they are sending out their own engineers, because they think like everybody is making hell of a mess out there. They are burning billions of tokens, and that's the real issue. If you burn billions of tokens, the boardroom will say, oh, this technology doesn't work, remove it. But there's a better method to do. So you get those engineers from the company who have developed these models, and they come and do a job for you, so that they can, on the line item, they can show, okay, this was not a big cost, this was a small cost which can do a lot of big things. Second problem comes the process, which is AI is supposed to change the process. It's a technology which will affect the process, and process affect the people. So people buy in, you got it, right? Technology, But if you don't look at the process and start small, you cannot change entire process in a day. The adoption for any enterprise, any tool whatsoever in the market will take at least couple of years, 3 years, 4 years. Even if you can prompt out any software, because they have to adopt it, they have to generate enough data so that you can do the next process. And that's the gap which most of the people are not understanding, or they don't want to look in the boardroom, because uh, nobody has made a reel on it yet, or nobody has written about it. It's just like a couple of months ago people started deploying the forward deployed engineers, which is they come in, they actually do the job, they are the expert in that domain, and it's not a services. It's just that all the billions of dollar, or the circular economy that is Right now, I think the AI economy is, if I'm not wrong, around some 18 or 20 trillion dollar economy. With Nvidia in the mix, it will become like 40 trillion dollar economy, where one company is funneling the money into another company and again circulating it back. That whole economy exists just because everybody knows about now AI. And people will change, they will adopt. It's just that nobody knows where the adoption will go, whether it will be B2C or it would be businesses which will do that.
Now, when I look up the just to validate for what we're talking about for the audience, currently the AI economy sits at 1.37 trillion dollars worldwide. And so there are various reports, there are various global sizing, I would say, research studies that have been done. And if you bring them all together from different economies around the world and you add them all up, they'll end up around 1.37 trillion dollars. So lots of buzz, lots of activity, a lot of money being spent on the technology. And if you don't believe me, make a visit to Silicon Valley. You'll know how much money is being spent there, right? One thing is you mentioned earlier, something which I want to pick up on is that entire cost savings, which brings me to the conversation around how private equity firms are behaving right now. I mean, always been like this, not now. They come in and they buy companies in the hope of fixing them up or selling them for parts or whatever they do with them. And then what they end up doing is we're going to buy a company. I get sometimes people asking me, what's your advice? And they ask me questions around, we're investing in this particular company, so what do you think? And I say, well, I'm before I answer, I'm surprised with the question, because the question is, these guys don't seem to have a lot of AI application. What we're going to do is we're going to come in, put a bunch of AI application, we're going to save a lot of money, and things going to go look very good for us. We're going to sell the company in 5 years, we're going to make a ton of money. So I'm assuming this formula is false.
The formula is completely false. I do due diligence for a lot of private equity because they bring me in when they want to understand the technology and how it is going to affect and everything. I think every single venture capitalist or PE analyst that I have had word with, they all think that uh, and it's not a newer notion. The notion has been always there. If we merge few things, optimize it, it will generate better revenue, and then we can sell it off. That has always been a notion. The newer notion is we will add AI and it will solve the problem. The issue is merging two companies was not a cost issue, it was a process issue. Adding AI is a cost. If something is already it's going downhill, and if you add more cost, it goes faster downhill. It doesn't suddenly get a hockey curve, right? It takes time to reach there, and then it might or might not take off. So that has been an issue. One thing that again, AI is very much industry dependent, right? So if I take AI, and I'll just give you an example in defense. In defense as an industry, AI has worked beautifully well. In natural disaster recovery, like again in right now, Venezuela had an earthquake, right, in a few days, few weeks ago. The drones that were used had an AI capability by which it can imagine where the people are if they are stuck under the muck. That's a good application of AI. Now, what it does for that drone company, it becomes much more profitable because natural disaster happens all around the world. People get trapped under the mud, unfortunately, many times. It can be applied to something that I used to do, mining, right? So that company can actually see a shoot in revenue, right? All right now, US did one thing where one of the soldier was trapped in Iran, and they were able to basically, I think it's called Whisper or something was the name of that technology, where they were able to predict where the heartbeat is coming from with the satellite image. That's a great use of AI. So in defense, AI has been wonderful. In healthcare, AI has been wonderful. Where it actually failed, where the legacy models were there, where the legacy systems are there, it might not work well for a company where on pen and paper still they are profitable. Even they're doing everything pen and paper, they're doing legacy way of doing things and they're still profitable. That has there it has not worked. Retail, it has failed miserably because retail people still go to the shop, they buy it. People like to shop it when they can touch it, feel it, and you might have DoorDash, you might have Instacart, you might have Uber Eats. Still, people go to restaurant, sit and eat. That's an experience. So that's where AI has not done a great job. So I think it has been very much industry dependent. And PE firms, I think now they are realizing that when we are investing, we have to invest thinking which industry it will play well in long.
You know, the listeners here are thinking, well, maybe the problem is not AI. Maybe it's this generation of human that they're living here now, and they come from what I call legacy way of life. Um, they're finding a hard time detaching from that and taking on, and which is normal. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can't expect people like in their 50s or 20s. It doesn't matter how old you are to just drop everything and just learn a new thing, because guess what? A couple of geniuses in Silicon Valley decided to create something new. It takes time. I mean, not saying it's a bad thing, but it takes time. It takes time to figure out how to get people on board with what you're trying to do. And you're absolutely correct. We talk a lot about on this channel about the knowledge based industry. Knowledge based industry and knowledge based economy is completely impacted by AI because everybody's trying to automate everything. Lawyers, writers, translators, everybody. Everybody says, we've solved the language problem. No, you didn't. And let me say this up front. You might think you did until disaster hits, meaning until you get into a bad publicity somewhere or you get sued somewhere. Why? Because only, in my opinion, and I've been in the localization industry for the past 26 years, is that in the language industry where there's custom, there's tradition, there's the way you say things, there's emotional attachment to every single word. It is, and you mentioned several other industries where AI is doing very well. Why is it doing well? If we look at those industries where AI is doing well, because those industries are hard coded. I mean, there is no emotion to it. Black and white, it will do very well. As soon as you enter the emotional aspect of it, the judgment, I want to say the cultural connection to what we're saying, then it falls apart. And this is where you absolutely still need a human to do it. So for my teammates or colleagues in the localization industry, I want to ask you this question. If a localization company comes to you, which is a translation language based company, to you tomorrow and said, hey, we need your help in hiring and developing better, where should they actually start and what would you expect to find?
Right. I'll then suggest like there has to be human in loop in every element. Like AI can do generation. It cannot redefine the way a culture will connect it to. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I go to Japan and I want to hire people. And if I take the modern methods or the methods of USA to Japan, nobody will relate to me. I take the same concept, and a concept can be around anything. It can be as simple as having renting a house, living with parents, right? The meal that you eat, the way you eat the meal, which is here we can use knife and fork. Many cultures they eat it with hand, right? Now AI can know that somebody is going to eat with the hand, but you need still an eye to see that localization can also have localization, which we call hyper localization. In a culture there are multiple culture that lies, and that only can be judged by a human rather than a machine. You can create or generate as much as things that is possible, and if I have to suggest someone that how they are breaking into AI, generate things, but start, you have to redline, you have to figure out, okay, whatever it has generated, whether it is right or not. And it is definitely going to save time because you didn't have to write everything. uh, it will, you can just modify it and it will work for you. But human in the loop is the most important aspect whenever we talk about localization. One example I'll give is sales, right? Sales is a great sales guy is not because he had the great sales script. A great sales guy of women is basically because they understood the nerve of the person, they understood the emotion. None of the machine can learn emotion. And I have a business in the same industry where nobody can read the emotion of a person. None of the cameras, none of the algorithm, none of the assessment. So only human can judge the emotion of the other person. So they do generation, but keep human in the loop.
Now, we're faced, like, the localization is like any other industry in the knowledge based economy, they're faced with the fact that AI is eating into traditional processes, into the traditional business work. in the workflow process very fast. So we reference things like machine translation, large language model, or large language model assisted translation, automated QA, automated quality assurance. But the people decision, whom, like things like who to promote, who to trust with high stake clients, right? So this is what we're talking about, right? Those still feel they're human and very opaque. And many people make mistakes there, right? So they think they selected the right candidate or the right person. Things don't turn out to be well.
Yeah,
And
it has
so,
to be data assisted decision. If you're saying that thing, it has to be data assisted. Human can always get enough data so that they can make a wise decision, right? That's how we all become wiser, because we read too much. We started listening to different things. That podcast, for example, that has been, I think, the generational boon for many people who didn't had access to the books, because they can read while driving back from home and actually learn about a topic. So I agree with you what you're saying. There are high stake decisions. It can be made beautiful with the help of a lot of data, a lot of information, but it requires human.
so if I was like a translation manager or an owner of a translation company, and I'm faced with the decision of hiring a salesperson or project manager or whatever, can I use your data to determine that?
Yes.
You get a better
So
to better identify the right fit.
right, you can use this data to validate even your judgment of a person also, which is you think that they are a great team leader, but they have never worked with you or anywhere else. But on our system, it says that they can be a great team player, right? It can still give you a, a directional guidance that, okay, this can be a great team player because they have all the things, all the soft skills, the personality that requires to be a great team player. So it definitely assists people even at the high stake job roles. What we don't do is we'll go and say that hire that people. We'll give you the complete data and detail about someone so that you make a better informed decision.
Now, I want to move to a segment where I talk a little bit about my personal experiences in the domain that we're talking about today. So, I've spent 30 years, reinventing what I do with this show. Basically, try to bring my experiences to everybody with fractional work, with memoirs, etc. So, I'm writing a book. I'm doing a few things, um, and I make decisions about people constantly. Who to trust, who to book on this channel, right? And when your team reached out to me and you reached out to me and we had a conversation, I really liked the idea and I wanted to bring it forth to our listeners, which is pretty interesting idea that we're talking about today. Now, your patent is literally about quantifying the patterns that predicts good career or good career directions. If you ran me through the framework, what would you be looking at for me, and what would it be actually? What would it tell you about me? I guess what do I expect from this?
Right. So once you will do the assessment, I'll get to know about your personality. I'll get to know about your soft skills, right? When we talk about soft skill, people can count it on their hand because that's how much they know, right? Which might be communication, leadership, teamwork, right? There will be few more that people can time management, right? Those are the things that they can count on the finger. But we judge 84 soft skill. So I will know a little bit much more detailed, granular things about you. And what it will do is it will give you, then you have to update your job skill and everything that you have done in the past. It can give you a direction on what can be the next for you. You don't have to do the next, but it will give you a direction that this is based on your past experience and skill and soft skill and the personality. These are the couple of things that you can try in future, right? And it will tell you the gap and how you basically fulfill that gap also. So our idea was not to show person a scale that you are 2 out of 10 on something. Our idea was to show if you are 2 out of 10, what are the things that you can be fit for. So if you do that, it will give you the direction that what can be the next for you.
No, I want to ask you this question for you. I guess, how do you feel now after all the zigzagging in your career, from mining to McKinsey to teaching to a CTO now? Are you happier? Do you like what you do, or?
I think zigzagging has been part of my life. And I started my first firm when I was 14, 15-year old. That firm was supposed to help out underprivileged kids who didn't have access to quality education. Uh, and then somewhere along the path, I again figured out education as one of my thing. And I think I'll zigzag again. Zigzag. I'll move it to something different, which I think where I can use all the parallels that I have learned and again go and apply because uh, I love the life that I lead. I and I say this very proudly. One of the day, my dad asked, like, "Are you happy?" And I said, like, whenever I wake up, I never think that I have to go to a work because I like what I'm doing, and I have never felt it in the past 10 years that I have to wake up and I have to work because whenever I wake up, I say, "Okay, I'm going to do something problem solve. I'll do something good today because it's not about whether I'm happy or sad. It's it matters so much to me the fact that I wake up and I don't think I have to work. I do work, but I don't think that I have to work. I think that matters most to me.
The best job is the one that we can do without feeling it's a job. It's something that you enjoy getting up to in the morning and getting up and doing it without thinking, oh, it's a job. It's something I have to punch in, punch out. The best type of job is the one you have passion for, and I really appreciate where you're coming from. This is where I am right now. I really love what I do. I spent my years in zigzagging in a career in a corporate world, and 2025 toward the end of the year, I exited that, and here I am now. You're based in the U.S., but I don't know which city you're in. Which city are you in?
I'm in Dallas.
Oh, you're in Dallas. Okay. Yeah, been to Dallas, beautiful town. I really enjoy visiting when I'm in Texas. It's pretty good, and I do have relatives, I guess, in Austin, I think there are. So excellent. Now the next question is a bit of a before we wrap it up, I guess this is a bit of a short questions for you, if you don't mind. What is the one thing you believe about AI, human decision making, the most people in your field would push back on if you said it out loud?
If I say that AI cannot solve all of your problems,
People would push back on that one, right?
like, no, 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 we believe AI. All of my friends are technologists. Don't want to hear the truth.
I'm surprised AI is not toasting our toast in the morning and giving us
No, it's not about AI.
giving us orange juice. That would be nice. Next one. If you don't mind, if you had to leave the audience with one thing today from our conversation, not a framework, not a takeaway slide, just one honest thing you want them to sit and think about. What does that be?
I'll ask them to think about the information that you're getting. Are you validating whether that information is true or not? And if it is true, what are you doing about it? If it is not, how do you make sure that you find the truth?
Now, where can people find you, follow your work at Catenate, how to reach you today after our conversation?
LinkedIn is the best place. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and I often try to reply to all the emails and the messages that I get on LinkedIn. So, LinkedIn is the best place.
Samir, for the audience, look, if you want to connect with Samir, I'll be happy to connect you. I'll be happy to do an introduction for you. If you can't find Samir directly, just reference this conversation and I'll be happy to do an intro for you, okay? It's been a pleasure having you on the call with me today, Samir.
Thank you so much. Pleasure was mine. I had the privilege of enjoying the conversation with, after a very long time. We discussed something which is very dear and near to me.
I really appreciate it. And I hope I addressed, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. And I'll just like to say that zigzagging the career move, nobody has ever pointed that out in in all the podcast recording or the recordings that I have done. So I'm pretty happy and I'm pleasure to meet a person who has done the same thing.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. The audience, I want to thank you so much. But first of all, I want to thank Samir. This is exactly the kind of conversation I built this show for, to be honest with you. Specific, honest, and useful for anyone who's ever watched a promising technology land wrong inside a real organization. We've all seen that. And I want to thank you, Samir, for bringing the unglamorous version of the truth, because everybody wants to hype things up. You and I took it down a notch today and say, okay, well, let's talk real here. And I really appreciate the audience appreciate that too as well. You can find if you can find this episode on YouTube. Obviously, thank you for following us on YouTube and watching. the multiple videos that I produce on YouTube for each episode. So each episode gets about 30 videos. They're all on YouTube on the channel at L10N Fireside Chat. You can find the channel on YouTube. You can follow us. And also, if you're listening to us on the podcast, on the audio side, all the streaming podcasts we're available on. Look us up, Localization Fireside Chat. And also, if you are interested, now we have an app. I've built an app for this, and you can download it so you can have all of the episode right on the palm of your hand in your mobile now. It's app.l10nfiresidechat.com. And all you have to do, open it up in your browser and add it to your home screen. So that gives you everything in one location. You can listen, you can read, you can watch, and you don't have to go on the internet try to find the content. So I really appreciate this time with me today. Samir, always pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you at the next episode. And hopefully you enjoyed this one. Thank you. Bye-bye.